Likewise, if that response was less helpful, equally that is hardwired. So it seems to me the transmission is about what happens when colleagues are under pressure together, not what happens in rooms like this, although knowledge is important. And therefore, because 90% of the information that the brain takes in is visual, in other words, it's what we see a colleague doing that is the largest transmitter of skills, and particularly what we see them doing in conditions of adversity, because that's where we learn the rules to survive, and it's the rules to survive that we need to know. So it's a kind of beginning answer to what is a really interesting broad question, actually. Do you have thoughts on it yourself? Can you share just one sentence of your thoughts? What did you have in mind when you were thinking about intergenerational transmission?
No, I just want to work on intergenerational transmission of attachment. It's much the same. All the research talks about transferring secure attachment and how successful that is, but nobody ever looks at the research of the basis of attachment as to what happens when a child feels unsafe. What response do they get? And if you've got a secure attachment, that kind of becomes an automatic taken for granted response. It's only when it is an insecure attachment that it becomes a response that you actually acknowledge. And so the same sort of thing in training is like you actually have to acknowledge the hard times rather than the easy times. You learn from your mistakes. You learn, and the bigger the organisation, the less able you are to acknowledge mistakes because of your roles. The less likely you are to be able to discuss those mistakes, even sometimes on a team basis, let alone in a bigger organisational basis. Everybody is concentrating on keeping their position.
It's interesting. Teaching supervisors, I make them all take a supervision history from workers. That's the principle. And today we've just done a whole exercise, and the back end of it, they have to say, from their own experience as supervisors, what were the characteristics of the best supervisors? And the characteristics of the best supervisors are strong, secure, internal working model. And in fact, the attachment theorists are beginning to say, of the mediating factors, the parent's internal working model is at least as important as parental sensitivity and child's attachment behaviours, which suggests that something very profound is being transmitted neurologically about who I am to you and who you are to me that is very powerful. Of course, it's equally powerful when it's damaging. So if I was going to put my dollars on any single transmission, and why do I spend 2/3 of my year training supervisors? Because supervisors are the single most important predictor of workers' fortunes beyond the worker's own capacity. So, our future lies in making sure we train our supervisors well and support them to be able to keep going. Thoughts there?
It's not really a question, but just a comment about what wonderful things lots of the statements you made at the beginning about social workers and how we don't know what we have, and we know about the ecological and historical view of context, I think, that we've had, but to put that together with the emotional side of what we've done and how we have paid attention to that, I think, in what we've done, but not being aware of doing that. So just to say thank you, because I think that connects so much with identity of social work. And with identity, as you've said, it comes more power, more sense of being able to actually create change. So what I'd like to have us do is capture this off the video and send some of this stuff out to social workers in Australia to help empower people to feel as though they can do more with what they already know.